The program features 2 films by Buster Keaton from his early 20s period. They're short subjects. And one is called Cops, which is his tribute to law enforcement in his own comical way. And the other is what I consider the ultimate home improvement movie. It's called 1 Week, where Buster and his bride decide to set up housekeeping. Literally, they've been given a house kit in boxes from his uncle, and they're trying to assemble this. And that's what the movie is about. Unfortunately, the arch villain has stolen the directions, and the result is pure Keaton-esque comedy. The final film is a feature, and it's Charlie Chaplin in A Dog's Life, which is the adventures of the little tramp and his puppy dog, Scraps, and their adventures in the big city, where they eventually come across the lost cabaret singer played by Edna Purviance. And it's a charming film. It's about 40 minutes and many famous scenes in it. But what will be really remarkable is this will be the only opportunity in a long time to be able to see this picture with its original 1918 orchestral score. A couple of years ago, I spent quite a while reconstructing that. And it's finished, and we gave a premiere with my orchestra a year or so ago, and now it's ready to put it on the road. But yeah, it's a rare document. It's beautiful music. It's a beautiful picture, and putting them together at the Alaska Center is actually going to be an event. There's nowhere else in the U.S. will this occur in 2024. So, pretty big deal. Whether you're a cinema buff or you just want to laugh a lot or shed a tear too, because Charlie is very poignant in his, his acting style is extremely warm and touching when he's going through his scenes with the little pup. So laugh, smile, cheer. It'll all be there for you in January. You are absolutely encouraged to make sound, because that's what audiences in the early 1900s did. The entire experience that I bring is one of recreation of what these things were like. What was it like to go to the movies in 1920? And I want audiences to be able to relive that experience. And part of that is that audiences made sound because they were so excited about these images. This is all new, and seeing their favorite movie star come onto the screen, it was so exciting that when the villain would come out about to do something terrible, audiences couldn't restrain themselves. They would start to boo. They would start to hiss. They would make sounds. When Chaplin knocks over the bad guy, the audience would cheer. You'd hear, people go, hooray, up in the balcony, popcorn would come trailing down over the edge. Don't do that. But well, during the love scenes, you hear the sighing, everyone's, oh, Edna, oh, this is so wonderful. It's going to have a happy ending. And of course, when the funny stuff happens, which is about every 20 seconds, there's this spontaneous laughter. So we actually want that. We want to hear a lively audience interacting with what's happening on the screen. And when you're there at the Alaska Center, you won't be able to help yourself anyway. You'll be making sounds, and you still get to applaud the orchestra at the end. We would love that. Absolutely. This is a very family-friendly kind of thing because it can be enjoyed on so many different levels. Purely as entertainment to begin with, you're getting screen comedy of the highest sort from Buster Keaton, who is amazingly compelling, Chaplin, who is equally amazingly compelling, and then the added excitement of having a large orchestra there right under the screen, providing all the music and sound effects. So there's both that artistic side of it too, the live music making, and also the educational part of it too. This is a chance for folks to actually see what a flute does, or a bassoon, or a viola. So there are actually so many different threads of both entertainment and art that it is a perfect way to have an evening out with your kids, and indeed a large portion of our audiences around the world as we do these programs are families and children. And it's especially exciting for me to see young folks there discovering for the first time not just the antics of Charlie Chaplin as the tramp, wheels around the corner with his cane flying and the coppers chasing him, but actually hearing orchestra music and discovering how exciting that is too. Comedy is very timeless too, because the issues and the whole way of transmitting humor, I think, probably will never change as long as human beings remain pretty much the same. But dramatic presentations change. So they're very fashion oriented, and particularly silent comedy. The acting styles necessary to get the story across are very different from what people are used to communicate. Their methods of communication today are very different, and so even some of the great dramas don't hold up as well as comedy. Yeah, it's a big part of my life. I've actually conducted almost 800 screenings now of different films going back more than 30 years. And I love it because there's no other art form that quite combines its elements in this way. You have the visual and the wide gamut of everything that movie making can provide, and cinema storytelling can give you, with great music and live music played by an orchestra. And so combining these two elements is something that is just so special, and these days so rare. It's just something that doesn't happen very much, that it's compelling to me and to really tens of thousands of people who come to see these programs. And we have to be reminded when we're watching a program like this that at one time millions of people were drawn to this art form. In the early days of cinema, before the pictures had learned to talk for themselves, every theater had a staff of professional musicians who played all day, every day for all the films. And there were over 30,000 movie theaters in this country by 1920, and all of them had musicians. About half of them had orchestras. Minimum size would be about 10 or 11 instruments. But the grand theaters in the cities had large orchestras. You would have 50 players or 75 players. The Roxy Theater in New York had 110 musicians in their orchestra playing 3 times a day. It was the largest ensemble in the world. And so it's a sort of movie palace magic that transcends this time period and still speaks to people today. And will speak to you at the Alaska Center with the Anchorage Symphony Orchestra, which is one of the few places in the world that regularly does programming like this. So you guys are specialists at it, and it's always a delight for me to come up and join the fun. I think that the one thing would be that there are so many different ways to achieve meaning and understanding, and they're out of the way things in the world that aren't presented by the modern media, on the internet or whatever. And so discovering something new like this live, and discovering something like this in a room full of other people is so important, because we do so few other things in life these days as a community. So for all of you to be in the room together at the same time enjoying Charlie Chaplin and music is a really wonderful thing. And as you are there in this beautiful space, this combination of factors enables you to understand that you're experiencing something that's very special and something you can't do at home at all. Yeah, well, early cinema is really something you cannot experience on your computer screen, because the magic that's involved in making it all work, making the presentation come to life, involves large groups of people in being in the same place at the same time. In other words, the audience is part of the show. So, well, Buster is up there doing something funny, or Charlie Chaplin is doing something. The audience enjoyment of what's happening, the sounds that they make, the enthusiasm, the applause, the laughter, is actually something that further contributes to the enjoyment of everybody else in the room. It's part of the program. And seeing these films on a giant screen with a live orchestra sitting there, where you actually feel the sound waves vibrating on your body in a beautiful space, is just something you can't do unless you're in the Alaska Center or another beautiful performing arts center seeing this live. It's the only way to experience it.